Live in five, four.
Welcome to another fantastic meeting of the Pirate National Committee. I am the chair, Anthony J., and we are going to get into our agenda and do pirate stuff. First, we're going to move into IDs. I already gave mine. Drew, you're the next person that I see.
Oh, okay. Drew Bingaman. I am the PA captain. Guess that's it.
Okay. Joe?
I am the Massachusetts representative, Joseph Honorowski, based Lowell, Massachusetts, and I am also the treasurer.
Yari.
Hi, my name is Rose Klein. I am the representative of California, and I am also the secretary.
And last but not least, Swarm Care Man.
Hello, my name is Mitch DeVillo. I am the Swarm Care Manager and the representative of Illinois, coming at you live from the Chicagoland chapter of the Illinois Pirate Party.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for that. I think that was a fantastic round of introductions. I'm just going to go ahead and go for it and get into reports. I'll start with committees. Platform, do you have anything to report? I believe that is Mitch.
We did not have a meeting this past Monday due to it being the 4th of July. However, we will be having a voice chat meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Can anyone here give us an IT report, maybe?
I was not present at it, so no, not me. I did see something in the chat, of course, that Jamie posted, which is just that there was an update to the blog software and a backup of the database. But otherwise, it didn't seem like there were any notes.
Okay, thank you for that. Though I would give an outreach report, but I actually think that it's better if I toss that back to you, Yari. Do you want to give the outreach report?
Yeah, I can give the outreach report, absolutely. So outreach this week, we sort of tried something new. We were trying to, AJ and I talked about this and decided to run an experiment of sorts, where I pitched running kind of a decentralized, was my idea, to run sort of a decentralized outreach committee this last week. I think it went pretty well. Basically, what we did is we ran things as a couple different work jams, essentially, where there wasn't exactly a formal meeting structure, and instead we just started writing notes in an Etherpad and talking in voice chat and working on stuff. So we are currently working on producing literature for tabling for zines and stuff like that for pirates to hand out and have as part of tabling at events and stuff like that. So if anyone has other things that they want to see done as part of literature for pirate outreach, or if anyone has other things that they want to ideas for literature or other things that they want outreach to do that aren't related to literature work, absolutely feel free to put those in the outreach channel of the Discord, or to check out the outreach channel of the Discord, where we do have the link to the Etherpad, and you can go ahead and follow the instructions there to help out, which would be a great assistance to us.
All right.
That's really it. Yeah, I think it went well.
Thank you, Yari. I'm actually going to go ahead and let Ethan ID since he just got here. Ethan?
I'm Ethan Osborne, captain of the Bluegrass Pirates.
Thank you for that. And that is Kentucky for everyone who isn't in on their, hip names for states.
Right.
I tell people I'm a Hoosier, and they're like, "What the hell? What the hell are you talking about?" All right, we can move on to officer reports. That's the word I'm missing. Swarm Care.
In terms of Swarm Care, it would appear that the New Jersey Pirate Party is making some nice headway. They've created some social media accounts for Twitter and Instagram, and they told me a website's on the way.
Excellent. Anything else?
At least off the top of my head, I do not believe I have any other Swarm Care related news.
Okay, thank you so much. Secretary, do you have a report?
Other than we just just got a spammer in the chat. That was interesting. Apologies to those in chat for not responding to that right away. I was not aware of it until just now. I have some items for new business, and other than that, I don't believe I have anything to report. Please keep sending things to me if you feel like you are not on email lists. Oh, and I guess just a continual note of if you would like your information on our wiki, I am more than happy to update those things myself. Like if it's a small amount of information, if you have a state party and you're like, hey, I want that stuff on the wiki, like send me an email, secretary at uspirates.org. But also, I can set you up with a Wikipedia or with a wiki account for our wiki if you would like to change that stuff yourself. So feel free to send me an email and I can set you up with an account there if that's something that's more extensive editing is needed. That's the report.
All right, thank you for that, Yari. Treasury, do you have a report for us?
I do, and I would like to formally apologize for not being here last week. I actually did break my arm, like legit.
Oh,
So, yeah. So that made working as a mover quite interesting. Yeah. So, but I do apologize for that. And so there was a couple of things in the pipeline. I was working with IT to try and get a donate button going, and that we just never connected. The also thing that I'm trying to get on is getting a way for us to spend the money, which would be in the form of a debit card. And as soon as we get that IT thing squared away, I'll go and get us a couple debit cards and distribute them to the appropriate offices as per our writ.
Once reports are over, I have a note about that, actually.
Okay, I will keep that in mind.
You do?
I think, except for chair, those are all the officer reports, so I will go ahead and give you all a chair update. Not too much interesting going on to this week in my world. I'm still, honestly, I'm going to be honest with all of you. I'm still trying to figure out what being chair even means. I don't understand it all the time, but you know what? The ship is still afloat, so that counts for something. Hopefully I will be able to give you more exciting chair updates in the future. I'm trying to experiment, I talked to Yari and Mitch about this a little bit, but before we consider alternative methods of chairing, I'm trying to experiment a little bit and be kind of a strong chair to see if we even need it. So if any of you have any ideas about the kinds of things that they would want some kind of strong chair to do, so we can test out whether or not a chair is needed, please let me know. I am happy to sort of push things so we can really figure out what it means to be a chair in such a decentralized organization, because there are a lot of people that are talking about alternative models, and we want to make sure that if we adopt an alternative model, it works well. And what I mean by alternative model is there's a suggestion California had a little while ago to maybe just get rid of the chair position. So what we're talking about are things like that. I don't want to bore anyone who isn't on the loop on the details if they don't quite get it, but just know that my tenure as chair is a massive experiment. So please, if you have any ideas about how to make the experiment better, let me know. I will be down for them. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. I mean, I made one of our political adversaries mad on Twitter by just existing, but I don't think that's business, so I'll leave that until after the meeting. So yeah, things are going pretty well. Yari, before we move to discussion, I'll let you hit that one point. And then I'll let Drew speak, but I want Yari to speak first.
I just wanted to say that I'm having trouble finding the note card with all the stuff about it now. But Joe, specifically connecting with you about the Treasury report and about that donate button for the website. So Jamie and I had talked about that previously and had specifically discussed about how it would be useful to have some sort of spreadsheet created by volunteers, some spreadsheet created by volunteers to hang on.
So here's the question. How is the donate button going to work? Is it going to be more like an email spreadsheet that captures information and we charge it accordingly? Or is it going to be something more automated and something that automatically charges and then we got to search down and figure it out?
I suggest, I think I've told you this before, but I'd suggest you take a look at how Ethan's campaign does their processing. I think that's a good model, and I can't imagine it would be too different to follow the rules for a party as opposed to a candidate.
Sorry, had another spammer in chat. What I was going to ask, what I was going to ask is, essentially, whether it would be useful to have a volunteer talk to you about or develop some sort of spreadsheet with different options for processors for the donations.
Can you clarify what you mean by processors for the donations?
I mean, Square is a bad one, but Square or Stripe, right? PayPal, those are the bad ones, but alternatives to those.
I mean, there's going to be, if we're using credit cards and we're processing through credit cards, those companies are going to charge a fee for it. On top of that, yeah. So I know what you're talking about.
So not those, right? But like a spreadsheet with like pros, cons, and like specific information about the different processors that we could use. Those are the companies that I mean when I say processors, and so pros, cons, and specific information about them. And Jamie gave me a list of the information that he would like if he were making a decision. So would that be useful to you, or have you already done something like that?
I've already done quite a bit of research on it. So that being said, if you want me to slap all the pros and cons, lot of them.
I mean, I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know if that would be useful to you. Like, if you already feel like you're confident in the decision that you made, like, great, like, fantastic. But if you hadn't made a decision yet, and if that was part of the holdup, then I just wanted to offer that as an option that we could outsource to some volunteers.
We could easily go a couple different paths. I kind of lean towards Square personally. They're more expensive. However, the reason for that is they're a lot more secure. But there's 1,000 different ones that we can use. Yeah. So I'm more worried about the technology, about how we're recording their information, than I am about finding a processor. They're a dime a dozen. Like literally, there's dozens of them. So.
Sure. Okay. That's it. That was my point.
Okay, Drew, you've had your hand up. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you, bro.
R.I.P.
He was having some technical difficulties before.
We'll get Drew back in a second.
Now?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. I'm just having technical difficulties tonight for some reason.
Oh.
I mainly wanted to just say when you're talking about Twitter that I feel that Twitter is a complete toxic wasteland, and put it on the record. And the other part was I wanted to see if you could hear me. So,
well, we found out the answer to that question. Yeah, that's a story for after we're done with the meeting.
Yeah,
I just found it really funny. So other than that,
actually, I do have one other thing for Joe when he's talking about how capturing the information with. Are you talking about like just making sure that you're getting the information from the people that are donating, like their personal information, as far as you're not just seeing a deposit go into the account, you're also capturing, to see what the data is that goes along with that. Is that one of the issues that we're having?
Joe?
Sorry, I missed that question.
When you're talking about capturing the data from donors, are you talking about like the required things that would, like the personal information that we need to record of our donors?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm-
So that we track so that we're able to track the donations and the people that they belong to, instead of just seeing a donation going into the account.
Exactly. So one of the things that we have to be very careful on is just taking donations randomly, because if we take donations randomly, according to FEC,
Oh yeah.
we have to then take that and donate it to another organization ourselves.
Right.
That, generally to like some type of nonprofit, non-political. So
doesn't this seems to me like something you could build into the web form? I mean, it's a little more that should be, as you fill this out, then go to your, set your donation and then take it to a payment page. But
Please,
I don't know.
please, Ethan. Yes, Ethan, please talk, because you've set this up before, or someone that works on your campaign has set this up before.
So I use a program called JotForm, which the only bad thing about it is it costs like $30 a month, but you can set up whatever field you want to gather whatever information you want on the form. So that's what I use. Considering I haven't been getting any donations, it's putting me in the hole. But hey, it serves its purpose.
Yeah. So I mean, we have on our we're not taking donations yet on our site, but we already have join and candidate links where there are forms built into the site. And then I get emails at I get emails at info@PA Pirates with that information. So I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like it should be that difficult to.
So it sounds like what you have, Drew, is an information capture portal, which is basically it takes it in a spreadsheet form and emails it to you, which is one form or one way we can do it, and then we can process it on the back end afterwards. The real question is, and this is why I have questions for IT for this particular adventure, is because what if our data files get corrupted, get hacked, etc., and then we're getting all of those
backups.
So, which is beyond my skill and expertise. So
Joe, honestly, that is an easy problem to solve. That is a very easy problem to solve. Yeah.
My suggestion is that we take all this information, and we send. Joe, do you know if you might be able to just meet with IT collectively, as in Jamie and Yari, sometime soon?
Yeah, I'm actually hoping either, if not Monday, then Tuesday, for me to connect with them.
Okay. Are you not able to make it to Thursday meeting?
Thursday is that the IT meeting?
Thursday, yeah, Thursday is the IT meetings. Thursday normal meeting time. 9 Eastern.
Okay, you know what? I'll just plan on meeting at the IT meeting then. There we go.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any further discussion or debate on these reports?
In terms of swarm care, I do have a quick thing I'd like to add.
Okay.
There's a restorative fourth movement going on right now, and I think that would be something that we should get behind as well. Unless I am wrong on that.
No, that's good. I would concur on that.
Ethan, let's go ahead and bounce to you.
Regarding swarm care on my end, I finally got to meet Nathaniel and Daniel in person over the weekend. And Nathaniel has been active on the Discord. He's with the Green Party. And so he is kind of like being an ambassador for the local Greens, and he's wants to help with the campaign. So, we've got some new stuff on that end. Okay,
campaign growth. I always love to hear when you've got more volunteers, and I like the fact that you've that they include people from a bunch of different backgrounds. I think that's the sign of a good third-party campaign.
I'm still trying to persuade him. I'm still trying to persuade him to join the Pirates. So.
Maybe it'll happen. Anything else? I'm going to take that as a no. So we're going to move on to business. Our first thing is an old business thing. We're going to continue talking about the Coalition of American Third Parties and Alex Darlington. So we met last week as well. It was only, I think, Drew, Mitch, Yari, and Maya Melody were there. So Kentucky and Massachusetts are out of the loop. I'll summarize what we talked about there so we can get everyone on the same page. We decided at the last meeting that what we wanted to bring to you two, to a fuller meeting, because it was like 3.5 people last week, is the idea that we should opt in to the Coalition of American Third Parties right now temporarily because there is not a buy-in. And then once they hit that 25 group mark to stay or to proceed or not, we only proceed so long as there are other parties with some kind of prestige there with us, right? So if the Libertarians and or the Greens or the ASP join, then we go ahead. But if we feel like it's not really picking up steam because none of those other big names are there, then we might pull out. Other people who were at that meeting can correct me on this, but I think that was the consensus. Yari, I will let you speak to that.
I guess I didn't want to speak to that specifically
Mhm.
necessarily, but I did want to just make a note here that Alex Darlington, the person who brought this proposal to us, followed up with me via email because he read through the notes of our last meeting
Mhm.
and just followed up with me via email to clarify some of the points and some of the confusions that he thought were present in the last meeting. So if at any point as we're meeting here, I hear any of the confusions that I think were addressed in that email, I'm happy to forward that email to all of you, but I also know that we're in a voice chat, so we're not all going to necessarily be able to read that right now because it's a fairly long one.
Please do forward that to all of us for future
I will
reference.
definitely do that. Yes, so I will make a note to do that right now. Yeah, I'll bring up the response that he said, and I will tag it as saying like this is Alex's response. So just FYI.
Okay, I'm just going to open the floor up for discussion then, and anyone who would like to talk can talk. Drew, you can talk.
Well, Alex actually followed up with me also briefly, and was interested to know if the state party would be interested in joining the coalition as well. And I told him that I wanted to put this to bed. I wanted to get the national party, whether they were going to join or not, to bed, and then I'd take the issue to the state party. But I'm pretty much of the idea that I don't think there's anything for us to lose. And pretty much what you're saying there, AJ, is that if we decide when things start to really coalesce, if the group of people that has come together, the group of parties that has come together is not really to our liking, that we can opt out at that point, and I really don't see a problem with that at all. So you can put me down as speaking for the proposal.
Okay, thank you, Drew. Anybody else have any initial thoughts here right off the bat?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
But I already talked about that last time.
And people are also free to make motions if they want to. We're
Yeah, I'll move. Gosh, I think I made a motion last time about this. Hang on, let me see if I can find the exact wording. Okay, yeah, sorry. I guess there wasn't a motion actually, but I will move that we join the coalition of American third parties once the 25 party threshold has been reached. If there is also specifically, or actually, scratch that. I'm the secretary. I can scratch that specifically. Ha 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 ha. I will move that we join the coalition of American third parties that we I will move that we hold a final vote to join the coalition of American third parties once they've reached the 25 party threshold, and that we effective immediately add the name of the U.S. Pirate Party to the coalition of American third parties as a gesture of good faith. I don't know how to I don't know. How
We
to
add our name to the
Second
tentative
motion.
list.
to the tentative list. Yes, I like
Okay.
that wording.
We have a second. From Joe, I believe. We are going to. So California has moved. Massachusetts has seconded. The motion is we are going to add our name to the tentative list of coalition members for the coalition of American third parties. And then once that list hits the 25 member threshold, we will hold a final vote then as to whether or not we join. Are there any questions?
I would like to make a friendly amendment to that.
Okay.
Love friendly.
That once we get to formalities, which is the 25 members, that we ask for any objections rather than a vote, and if there is objections, then we vote.
I accept that friendly amendment.
I'm not really
The
well read
seconder
up on
accept the
my.
friendly amendment.
I'm not really well read up on how to do amendments in Roberts because we don't actually use Roberts that well.
No,
I'm
I mean,
going
that's the next question. Does the seconder accept the friendly amendment?
Okay, so you accept.
I am the original mover. I accept the friendly amendment. Does the seconder accept the friendly amendment?
See,
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
there we go.
Then it is amended.
Okay, so it is amended. It is now that we will join the tentative list of members in the coalition of American third parties, and then once the coalition is actually set to exist at that 25 member mark, I am explaining this poorly, but I'm sure you get what I mean. Once we get into the formalities, we will ask if there are any objections from the board, and if there are no objections, we will continue. If there is an objection, we will hold a vote.
Mhm.
Is there any more discussion or debate?
No, I think that should
Mitch.
make it smoother.
I just want a quick clarification with the amendment that you just passed. Would that mean that when the time comes and they inevitably do reach the 25 party threshold, would a lack of objection just mean automatic acceptance into it, or would an objection
Yes.
be the only? Okay, just double checking.
Yes, that's what I meant. I just want, if nobody objects, then we just continue with business as we're saying now that we're joining unless there's an issue.
That is
So-
what I thought you meant, Drew. I just had
Yep.
to clarify. I think that's a good
Nope.
idea.
That's all good. All good.
from
I
the
think
way
this.
I understood it is that we are simply tentatively saying, yeah, we're interested. We'll come to that proper vote later.
Well,
Correct?
with this amendment, I do want to clarify. With this amendment, the full vote would only take place if someone vocally objects at one of the meetings around that time. So that way, if everyone is in agreement that this is a good idea, we don't mess with the bureaucracy and we just get right into it unless someone does have an issue.
And then we can discuss things as they stand.
Mhm.
With whatever groups or whatever we have a problem with, and then we can discuss it out. So
Sounds good.
That way, no one has to put the positive on the meeting agenda. It's only if you,
Yeah,
oppose, then you can put it on the meeting agenda.
I
So,
think it
yeah.
makes sense because this also means that, fact of the matter is, like, we don't know what this thing will look like when it hits 25. Like, we don't know what the coalition members are going to be precisely. So we'll have to see what it looks like, and I think it'll like the idea is a good one, so it'll probably be a good thing, or at least a workable thing.
Is there any more discussion or debate, or can we just go ahead and call the question? I'm going to take that single thumbs up from Yari as a sign that we are going to vote. I'm just going to do this by state. California.
Oh,
yes or no?
Aye.
Aye. Illinois.
Aye.
Massachusetts. Kentucky.
Aye.
Pennsylvania.
Aye.
That is a unanimous aye. That's a weird sentence. It's okay. The collective aye. We are tentatively joining the Coalition of American Third Parties, and we will officially join once the organization officially forms, unless there is an objection.
Cool.
So that is old business. We are going to continue to new business, where I believe California has a bylaws amendment to propose. Do I understand it correctly?
I do. So my proposal for a bylaws amendment is in the minutes. It is to add Article 6, Section 5.3. I'm going to direct you all to our lovely bylaws. Here, let me just send you the link in the chat in case you need a link to the bylaws. Here you are. That is a link to Article 6 anyway, so it's a direct link to Article 6. Look at that. Even better. Okay, so Article 6, sections, it is a proposal to add, not amend, but to add Article 6, Article 6, Section 5.3. I bet I was phrasing that weirdly. So to add Article 6, Section 5.3. Right now, Section 5 reads, currently it only has 5.1 and 5.2. And 5.5 is, Section 5 is titled Meetings to be held by IRC. 5.1 is notwithstanding rules contained in RONR, which is Robert's rules. It's like Robert's Rules of Order. It's an abbreviation of exactly that. Rules of Order newly revised.
That's it.
Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. There it is. Okay. So notwithstanding rules contained in RONR, meetings held by USPP may be conducted by internet relay chat on a publicly accessible server. That's 5.1. 5.2 is when a meeting is to be conducted by IRC, it is required that, the location of the server, parentheses, whether by its domain name, comma, or by internet protocol address, end parentheses, and the IRC channel be noted in the meeting call. Okay. So I am proposing that 5.3 be added to this section, and that 5.3 read, quote, the agenda for each meeting must be finalized and publicly posted a minimum of 24 hours before the meeting in question. End quote. That is my proposal.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the proposal? Do we need to re-explain things? I know once we get into the bylaws, I think all of us kind of have a mini panic attack, so I understand if we need to back up. Drew.
So my question is, why just for the IRC section?
That's a good question. This is not just for this is not just for the IRC section.
Okay.
Right. So
it is my understanding that video chats are currently just a standing rule.
So the video chats are included under may be conducted via internet relay chat.
Can I ask why you wouldn't put that
Number
under section 1 and make it number 4?
We can.
Then that would just would just cover anything, and there wouldn't be any ambiguity.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
just says PNC meeting.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
I think yeah,
But-
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that makes I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm gonna agree with that. I think I am totally in agreement with the idea of having this be instead of Article 6, Section 5.3 be instead the addition of Article 6, Section 1.4, but read the same.
So is that an official withdraw and
Yeah,
re-proposal?
that's that. I'm yes.
Joe, you had something to say.
I mean, we seem to accomplish more with these video meetings in and out anyways. Do we want to switch away from an IRC meeting to something a little bit more standardized video chat meeting every week?
Save
is-
that thought, and I would really like for us to discuss it after we get this through. Mitch,
You know what? I will retract my raising hand. I want to get through this first.
okay, all right. So
Longer discussion about video meetings.
the agenda item on the floor, to my understanding, is that we are putting Yari's proposal in Article 6. was it
Article 6, Section
1.4?
1.4. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Article 6, Section 1.4 will
Which again would
read it.
will read, hang on. I just closed it. That was silly of me.
The gist is that agendas
Agenda items
must
need to be
published and
published
available
24 hours
yeah.
beforehand.
24 hours before the meeting. So
It's right here. Yeah.
I'm going to
The
assume
agenda for each
Yari-
meeting must be finalized and publicly posted a minimum of 24 hours before the meeting in question.
I'm going to assume you were still
Yep.
motioning your motion.
Motioning
So-
my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Cool.
There is a second. Is there any further discussion or debate?
What if we want to add something last minute, as we often do?
Don't. I mean, you can still put things during the meeting in new business.
Yeah, I mean, if so long as we have a medium, because you know how my thoughts are all last minute and crazy.
Yeah, I get
So-
you.
If it just means that we can put in a system to kick it out to next week,
I will say before I hand this over to Mitch, I will say that this says, to my understanding, that this agenda, it must be published, it must be finalized, it must be available, but I'm sure that the final status can be flexible. I don't see that this explicitly prohibits us from editing it a little bit. We can play around with it. I don't think that's too much of a concern. Mitch.
Joe, to ease your mind a little bit, the way I'm taking this interpretation of the new bylaw change simply means that we will start the meeting knowing what we are going to be getting out the way. I don't believe that it would affect necessarily what we talk about if you wanted to add things during the meeting. I just think it would limit it to being added as new business more so than it would.
Oh,
I mean, business does come to business, so
Okay.
that would make sense to actually have something that we all know we're supposed to be discussing. So I get where you're coming from. I just know that I'm a spaz monkey, so
I do think it's important to note that constitutional literalists really do not exist, and all of our bylaws are just tools that political actors can use to debate and get what they want. So if the current PNC believes that we should make final changes, I don't think that would be too much of an issue.
May I suggest a change of wording
yeah.
from must to shall?
Sure. Why?
I don't know. It just seems more legalese.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not married to it, so it's fine.
No,
Either way.
okay. We do like our legalese.
I mean,
How about-
you know,
My suggestion.
You're right. The entire section 1 is written with shall.
okay. Well, then it probably should continue using
there's
that
there's a
language.
theming going, so I'm okay with that. I like that.
Should we just rewrite this to get rid of the final nature of it. So like we need to have something up.
No, I think that my take is that the finalized is important, because here's the thing that so I'm okay with amending it to shall. I think that's fine. You know, that's just theming, right? But I think the finalized is important because that's first off, it's standard. That is standard for city councils, for assemblies, for governmental bodies like across the US. Is 24 hours, you post the freaking agenda, it's there, it's finalized, that's what they're going to be talking about, right? There's like an open forum section where people can bring stuff, and maybe there's like a new business stuff thing where like some extra items are mentioned, and yeah, there's going to be some stuff that is brought up that no one can predict, but like generally, like these are the main topics of discussion and the things that you can expect to be brought up. And like I get that like having that too set in stone and too inflexible, you know, like I don't want that deadline to be like, you know, too far out, right? That's why I think like 24 hours makes sense. But like, I don't know.
I
mean,
don't
like, if
want
we
us to get into a gridlock here, so I might just suggest, Yari, do you want to maybe take one final crack at the wording of your motion?
What, for another week?
Oh, no, I'm saying like right now.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I think the wording is fine.
Okay. So
I
no
think
shall?
finalized is
We're going with
fine.
must?
Shall finalized.
Must and finalized? Okay.
No, shall is fine. Shall and finalized. I like finalized. I'm arguing for finalized, and
Okay.
I am curious why other people don't like it.
Can you give us one more read through of the motion?
Yes, absolutely. The agenda for each the agenda for each meeting shall be finalized and publicly posted a minimum of 24 hours before the meeting in question.
Okay. We had, I believe that's what was initially seconded. I'm getting a little lost here.
Call the question.
Let's just call the question. Pennsylvania.
I'm an I.
Kentucky.
Too much into wording.
Aye.
Massachusetts.
That would be an I.
Illinois.
Aye.
And California.
Yeah. Aye.
We did it. We broke through the legalese.
We did it.
Got something done. Even
Well,
when
it's
it
a
was
bylaws
starting
change.
to.
It's a bylaws change. We always get a little bit more finicky on these, for good reason, honestly.
All right. So, with that out of the way, we've got a few more minutes left. I am going to be cognizant of that, but understanding that we cannot have the full conversation tonight, probably, I do want us to revisit Joe's suggestion. So, Joe, could you go ahead and give us a refresher on what that was?
Can you say that one more time, please?
I want you to go ahead and put on the table what you suggested earlier, now that we have that item of business done.
I'm sorry, I had 20 million things that pull me in. If you
AJ
could
wants
be...
to talk about video meetings, Joe.
Oh, yeah, the video meeting.
If you want to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I just see these as being more functional, modern, and up to date with the times, and an easier format, so long as we have somebody that can do the recording. So I'd like to open it up for debate to make this more of a permanent thing.
Yari, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think we can absolutely make the every other structure more permanent. I think that's fine. I think that's working fine. And I like the way that the every other structure has been working. Originally, that was just a temporary proposal, and we've continued with it just under that structure as a temporary proposal of the body. That said, I think until we resolve ways to find a method of including a voice of the public more effectively in our meetings, such as happens in IRC, one, and until we resolve a way of storing the recordings of these videos on our own server such that they do not rely on a company such as Google, to, because they can boot us from YouTube at any moment, 3 violations and we're gone, right? All these videos go away and all the recordings of them are gone, and then suddenly our records are gone. And that sucks, right? You know? So we need to get these videos on our own server, and until we have that, and until we have the method of public participation in these video meetings somehow set up, I think until we have those two things resolved, I would still very much like to have at least this alternating thing. But I'm happy to. I think I'm happy to get on board with sort of a solidifying this alternating structure.
Okay, any more discussion? Drew.
I would say I like the 2 weeks on video, the every other, like, so the every other Sunday works well for me. I look at the IRC meetings as more of, say, like a little bit more of a work session, and that's where you can take that feedback. So I don't know that I'd want to eliminate it, really. I see these meetings as more of how we can have discussions between board members and observers. But I think there is a place for the IRC or another more open another more open format where there is more interactivity between us and anybody else that wants to be an observer and wants to just kind of chime in with their feedback. So whether that remains IRC or whether that goes to another format, the ones in between these video meetings, I think they should kind of remain as two kind of a little bit different meetings. And shouldn't we be able to download our videos from YouTube?
Yeah, we can. We just need a place to host them.
Okay. All right. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, I will go ahead and move to Yari.
I just wanted to make a note quick that Mitch said in the chat of the video something about Mastodon, and I think that was in response to, based on the timing, I think it was based on my response, in response to something about the participation. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I would very much like Mitch to talk about that more, but I do very much want, not our Mitch, other Mitch.
I was going to ask you to
He's our Mitch too, but
Mitch other, yeah. Sorry, I knew which one in my head. I hadn't clarified. So I would very much like us to consider. Yeah, I think it's important for us to consider ActivityPub forms of social media in thinking about how we can. PeerTube would be a great thing to host all our videos on, for example. But I think, again, that's a little bit further down the road.
Okay, making a note that it is 9:53, so we might want to wrap up somewhat soon. And I was going to make a note that Mitch DeVillo from Illinois is gone, but he is back, so that is no longer important. Ethan.
I would suggest keeping the IRC. I kind of like the way it is alternating between weeks, or at least keep it for like once a month. But on that same note, I did want to add that I will be deploying for fire season in the next couple weeks. So the quartermaster for the Kentucky Pirates, which is Nick. He will be filling in for me if I can't attend because I'll be my shifts are like 2 weeks on, 2 days off, and away
Nice.
from technology. So I'll be MIA sometimes. So hopefully he'll be able to fill in for me. So that's why I brought him in the last video meeting we had, so you all could get to know him and know who he is. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm sure that you will be a great addition to these meetings. Mitch DeVillo, you had something to say. Now I have to start pulling out the last names.
Yeah. Hello.
Or I could just say North Mitch and South Mitch.
I mean, to be fair, I am the only Mitch here. In context, Yari's comment might have been confusing, but until Mississippi Mitch makes an appearance, and I know you're listening, make your appearances. All I'm saying is, what if we, because I like keeping the option of having Jitsi and IRC. Might I suggest just having a reworking of the bylaws to where it specifies currently that we need to use IRC? If we had just reworded it just to where it says we need to use an open source program, just to keep us using Jitsi, keep us with IRC, but it also leaves the door open for more options to come if we find them.
I like that idea.
That's an interesting suggestion. Sorry, Yari, I cut you off because I was saying the same thing.
No, you're good. I should have.
It's okay. I interrupt the rest of you all the time and get away with it because I'm the chair. So
I'm used to that. Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. That's it. I just wanted to say that's a good idea.
okay, so I do think it's probably a good time to start thinking about where we want to take this potentially in the future. Is there anything we want to add to the agenda regarding this for next time?
I can come back with a bylaws change.
All right, Yari will be coming back with a bylaws change. Joe?
Officially motion that Yari goes and writes up a bylaw change.
I don't know if we need a motion. Oh gosh, okay, now it's a motion.
Actually, I am going on my first crazed power trip and saying we don't need that. Yari will just do the bylaws change.
I thought
Just
you were gonna go
do
on a
it,
crazy
Yari.
power trip and
What kind of tanky bullshit is this?
Yeah.
Mitch, you God. We're a professional organization.
You're right. I'm sorry. What kind of communist BS is this?
There you go. Much better.
There you go. There you go.
Much better. So yeah, I can. Mitch, you're the one who said something about IRC stuff, right?
Yes.
The open source stuff, right? If you can just message me that idea like verbatim, like exactly
Absolutely.
what you said, message me that idea verbatim immediately following this meeting, and then I will pull up I'll do some bylaws research and then type up something, and then Drew, I might send it to you
Okay.
just to
that's fine.
run it past you because you're a bit better at legalese than I am.
Oh, I please don't call me a lawyer.
I'm not going to call you a lawyer because
Okay,
your advice is not legal advice.
It's not legal advice.
Yeah, but I am going to say you're better at legalese than I am. You caught the shout.
Yeah.
Mitch,
My apologies. I am getting a phone call, and with the meeting running down, I just want to make a motion to adjourn.
okay, motion to adjourn seconds.
Second.
There's a second. I don't believe that's debatable, and I wouldn't allow debate for it anyway. I'm continuing my power trip. Is anyone opposed?
I'm opposed to your power trip, but not to ending.
Okay.
Not
Again, is anyone opposed to adjourning?
Have a wonderful evening.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and thank you, everyone, for listening. I've heard that there are actually people watching these meetings now, which is wonderful. Next week, we will be on IRC, so if you have any thoughts, you are free to voice them there. Other than that, everyone, please have an excellent week, and we will continue business next Sunday.
Vote pirate. Long live the Mitch Caucus.